I have heard that you have some amazing case of scaling Scrum at Thales. I've seen the presentation once, and I'm fascinated. Could you tell something more on how it was before? Was there some unconventional things that you implemented to actually make it right, because the situation was quite harsh?
Amazing is a word I would not use, but we were using Scrum. We did it in component teams according to what the book says, and we didn't get the amazing results as the book said. So we had to find out what should we do. How come that we have not the very good results as the book says we should have when we do Scrum? And I'm a manager in the company where we did the scaling. So we hired someone, a consultant, who could give us the answers. At least that was what I hoped.
Well, I didn't give any answers, I hope. I just pointed the way. But the situation before was, so there were component teams, and each component team was focusing on their own component. And there was a lack of focus on delivering working product. So let's optimize our own component, but each individual component is worth exactly €0. So that was the summary of the situation before.
It was an eye-opener to see that we were optimizing on those individual components that had no value. And once we realized that, then we were open to change.
So did you change the teams, or did the composition of the teams become the same, or were they did they start just working together? How did it look? How did the transformation with the teams themselves look?
The teams remain more or less stable, but instead of focusing on the team results, we scaled Scrum to the whole department, and we all together focus on the department results.
So I like to add a little more on this. So there is this change vision, let's call it the change vision, where we want to go within the next 2 years. And where we want to go is we want to expand the focus of the teams and the actions of the team. So we want them to move towards more feature teams. So we made a vision for that, we made a plan for that, to communicate that. And that's what we started doing. And that means that, for example, there was a separate integration team. That separate integration team starts to dissolve because they are moving from being a separate team into being part of the individual component team. So it's a gradual journey you have to take, each step expanding a little bit of the scope, so that eventually you reach the boundary where you cannot increase the scope anymore. It's like definition of done, but then it includes also scope.
Fantastic. How do those teams manage to produce an increment? There is quite a few people. How many?
About 70.
About 70. How do they do this? That they're able to produce one increment?
Well, we define now features that have value for our internal customer. That was quite something, because people said, well, it takes months to develop something that has value for our internal customer. So we kept on reducing the scope of each piece of value. And then for each feature, the various teams have their specialties. And they develop their part. And from the beginning on, the integration team is involved. And now the networking of the teams to create that little piece of functionality. In the beginning we said there's no value if you cannot see a plane. And now we see, well, you can see something. It might be a flying oil tanker, doesn't matter, you see something. Or it is connected. And we define the value in smaller pieces.
I guess this is not the end. So what's the plan? If you could, of course, give us a little hint. Where would you like to go next? How would you like to progress with the scaling venture?
Okay. First, we are now only an integrated total. We want to have it functionally tested. We are not within the sprint. We are not there yet. We want more involvement with the surrounding departments, system engineering, system testing, And in fact, hardware development is already doing more or less Scrum. So to want more of the organization working Agile and incentives. We still have individual salary increase. It's difficult to change that. But we are working on team goals. And your own salary is dependent on the team goals.
So how can we increase the authority of different teams changing different components, right? So it sounds like a very small step, and it is, but it's a big step for Thales. So we want components to be able to change code in other components directly. And that will help increase learning, cross-learning, multi-learning, and therefore a lot of benefits will happen. The code will be better, and people will be able to produce better software faster.
But that's what we want. The teams still say we are responsible for our components, and someone else may work on it, but under my supervision. We are not there yet. Quite something to do.
Thank you very much.